All right, welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. Today we are preparing for the exam. Not many students in Zambia have actually taken this exam on Enterprise Architecture. I think this should be the second or third group specifically on this EA type of material that we've covered. So you should be proud that you are part of the few people that have mastered the enterprise architecture exams. I will be going through just a guide on how we can master these basic principles, and then later on we'll go in detail to look at each of the specific questions and answers. So firstly, I think the things that we expect in the exam tomorrow is that number one, there will be a question around us being able to demonstrate the knowledge on landscape. The exam will be four-part. I think there will be the part that you need to look at the foundational concepts. These are the layered domains and how EA is being used as a communication tool, and the strategic role of EA in achieving business IT alignment. And then there will be a question on operating models, a scenario around city planning, and how EA is a continuous nature of modern architectural practice. And then the other aspect will be on governance. So what are some of the governance structures that are there? These are the rules, the standards, the considerations, and the CSV load model for managing artifacts. So there will be a question on specifically on guidance on governance structures. And then later on, I think the last part is how now the exam tries to shift focus from these concepts into how you transform from landscapes, visions, and outlines. So we'll look at those transitions between the different artifacts, and also delving deeper into how do you navigate uncertainty whilst delivering practical value. So those are some of the key areas that we expect to see in the exam tomorrow. Yeah, so firstly, the first number one question we'll have to look at is the area that will have to deal with the enterprise architecture layered domains. These are very easy to manage. I usually call them the BDAT, yeah, the BDAT stack, which is like business architecture, data, application, and technology. So those are basically the layered domains for EA enterprise architecture. And then also, enterprise architecture decomposes vast organizational complexity into four interconnected domains, enabling focused analysis whilst maintaining holistic understanding. So there's a vertical partitioning. Stakeholders can analyze specific layers without immediate overwhelm from other domains, okay? And then there's a horizontal integration where changes propagate logically across layers, enforcing disciplined end-to-end impact analysis. So you need to be able to look at the EA layered domains and how they reduce, how they decompose the vast organizational complexity. So basically that's the goal of EA, to reduce complexity, and this is how we approach it, okay? And then definitely we should expect a question on EA as a communication tool and how that is used to bridge the gap between business and IT. So the layered domains really transform EA into a powerful mechanism for achieving business IT alignment through three fundamental capabilities. So we're saying that there is the shared language. These are standardized artifacts. Replace vague statements with precise, verifiable descriptions that all stakeholders understand. So really, EA comes in to bridge communication between different stakeholders by really turning those mission statements, all those visions, all those business statements that are sometimes not clear into very precise, very verifiable descriptions in terms of artifacts. So that's the role of EA, is that it brings a shared language between IT and business. And then number two, EA for stakeholder translation. So each domain provides appropriate views for different audiences. Business leaders engage with capability maps, whilst developers work with interface specifications, okay? And then the third one is explicit alignment. So EA, as a communication tool, we're saying it helps to map artifacts between layers, making alignment or misalignment measurable, informed investment decisions. So an application process map clearly communicates which processes are supported and which ones are not, allowing for an informed prioritization and ensuring IT investments directly support strategic business alignment. Okay. And then, yeah, number three, I think the issue of city planning and how EA can be used as a continuous practice. So EA is not a once-off thing. We're saying EA is a continuous process. So we need to liken the enterprise to an evolving metropolis. Illuminates why EA must be pragmatic, collaborative, and continuous rather than a once-off technical exercise. So I think during our class, I think we did learn what EA was and what EA is not. I think we need to go and revisit those notes. And then for pragmatism, we're saying work with existing infrastructure and legacy systems, phase the modernization over a wholesale replacement. So you just don't come in and replace existing systems, but you need to plan to modernize in a phased approach so that there's business continuity and there's no disruption in the business processes. And then also EA as collaboration, we're saying it's about engaging diverse stakeholders to negotiate requirements and ensure feasibility for all parties. So everybody needs to come on board, everybody needs to be engaged. It's teams work. It's not EA is not a practice where the IT guys just go and design things on their own, but all stakeholders, all parties must come on board. They have a say, and then to move forward with deployment, or rather to adopt the EA practice. As a continuous evolution, we are saying you need to constantly monitor the landscapes, adjust the visions where possible, and then you're refining the standards as technology and business models shift. So always there's going to be a shift in technology. There's going to be new technology coming on board, old technology going out. The market, the business environment will be changing as well. So you need to be looking at your landscape, and then you're adjusting your visions, refining your standards as technology, as the environment changes. A big design upfront fails because enterprises are too large for comprehensive plans to be realized before obsolescence. So that's what EA would really focus on. Just a tip that you don't need to do a big design upfront. Sometimes we are saying that these phased approaches will really help. Okay. Then there will be a question. We need to expect a question on operating models, the foundation shaping EA processes. So there are 4 operating models. So the operating models basically defines how an enterprise delivers value. So it's the most critical long-term business decisions influencing IT infrastructure. Okay. So what influences IT infrastructure? It's the definitions from a business perspective in terms of how the enterprise will realize value, and then IT has to align with that. So it's determined by required levels of standardization and integration. Diversification, we're saying low level standardization, Low integration, business units select systems for specific markets. EA focuses on loose coupling principles and shared infrastructure. So this is where now we're saying one of the operating models is that we can implement EA in a diversified environment where there's low standardization, low integration. So then the other one is replication. This is high standardization, low integration, identical systems deployed rapidly across units. Okay, so replication is just where you have different systems deployed rapidly, and then EA defines strict golden template. So there is a template that, from an EA perspective, that can be used to deploy. And then the third one is coordination, where diverse systems must share data. Okay, so these systems are coordinated. The EA prioritizes robust integration layers and data exchange standards. And then in this particular one, coordination, there is low standardization and high integration. So when you're talking about coordination, it's about integration. There's high integration. Replication, there's low integration really, and also diversification. The last one is unification, which is high in standardization and also high in integration. So this is where you have shared systems globally. Okay, so EA enforces control and mandatory integration. All right, so we can move to the other part. We're saying that for strategic planning, unified model, strategic planning focuses on unifying visions and large-scale mandatory integration. So planning for global shared single instance systems, one ERP for all units, and then roadmaps dedicated to data harmonization and legacy decommissioning, identifying core shared capabilities for centralized delivery, and then maximum efficiency and lowest total cost of ownership. For diversification, it's loose coupling and enabling autonomy. So the planning for reuse technical components and platform APIs. Roadmaps focused on shared infrastructure, not application integration. And then strong interface definition whilst allowing system choice, enabling rapid response to market specific needs. So the operating model dictates the nature of IT portfolio that strategic planning must design, determining whether IT strategy should centralize, control, or enable autonomy. Okay, so we can go to, there's going to be a question on the considerations and standards. So both artifacts establish architectural boundaries, yet they differ fundamentally in nature and scope and temporal stability. So for considerations, the nature is qualitative, abstract, and non-negotiable architectural principles. Those are considerations. The purpose is to guide decision-making based on long-term organizational values. So an example of considerations is where you say all new systems must be designed for resilience and auto-scaling. So these are some of the things that need to be considered. You put in mind when you are building systems. So the time horizon is usually very strategic, and you're thinking in the long term, many years. But standards, these are very concrete, quantitative, and that's the difference, So qualitative is usually in the abstract, but standards are quantitative, things that you're able to measure and count. They're very technology-specific mandates, whilst the other one was mostly on the architectural principles. So the purpose of standards ensure that interoperability, efficiency, and scale through specific technologies. An example is where you're saying all new web applications must use Azure Kubernetes service, okay? And then the time horizon is tactical. It's frequently updated as technology evolves. So considerations provide strategic stability and philosophical directions that provide tactical agility and enforces rules. Together they enable technology evolutions, maintaining strategic coherence. Okay, so the last one, and this will be the last question. It will be, how do we move? What's the journey between landscape to implementation? Okay, so you remember we are looking at the CSV load model. So we are saying the landscape to implementation. We are saying landscapes are factual, evidence-based view of the current state, revealing the gaps, redundancy, and technical debt. And then you have the visions, aspirational future state descriptions addressing identified pain points and justifying investment. Outlines a high-level project plans translating visions into actionable deliverables with architectural constraints. IT initiatives executing outlined plans and moving incrementally towards realized vision. So this logical flow ensures every implementation activity consistently and architecturally sound moves the enterprise from current reality towards the desired direction, preventing siloed projects that deviate from strategic intent. The last one I think we can discuss is how to navigate the EA uncertainty principle. This one is definitely coming in the exam. The fundamental trade-offs, precise architectural. So precise architectural reduces uncertainty but increases rigidity. So you need to know what EA uncertainty is, and then that's how you'll be able to answer this question. So how you navigate EA uncertainty, we're saying it's through different strategic artifacts. So there's a vision for stability. You're saying long-lived, maybe 3 to 5 year statements that are providing anchored expectations, and then decentralized decisions where we're enabling local choices without constant oversight when aligned with the vision, and then focused investments, channeling resources towards desired future capabilities. So the visions for stability and then the designs for agility. So designs for agility, these are short-lived project-specific instructions that enable us to do precise implementation. We need to reduce uncertainty for developing teams through detailed specifications. Expected frequent changes allowing rapid technology adoption, and then tactical flexibility, the freedom to select best current technology within the strategic vision. So just enough design. I think this one is something that we also had discussed. The philosophy, we define long-lived guidance, the visions, the standards, the considerations with necessary rigor whilst elaborating granular technical details, designs just in time for projects needing them. This avoids over-engineering whilst maintaining strategic coherence and enabling competitive agility. All right, so we have now come to the end of this broad overview of what to expect in the exam. Okay, so now we're going to go into the details of what each question is and the explanations around those. So for that one, I think join me in the next part, part 2 of the EA exam practice session. Thank you so much for listening at this point, and do welcome your feedback, comments. Give us a like so that we continue summarizing and sharing and revising together.